Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be talking about the results from the Calling Wheel, Pro Tour Wheel, and updating the tier list for after these events. We still have nationals for basically everywhere in the world happening, so it's going to be nice to update this tier list and see what the Classic Constructed meta is looking like headed into the national season. So just wrapped up both of these major events in Lille. First, looking at the Pro Tour, which was the bigger event, obviously the more competitive event. Both events were competitive. The calling is still very hard to win, but this one, had the best of the best at it, and did have the draft element to it as well, right? So you had to be good at draft and Classic Constructed. You can see Breyer made up 4 of the 8 slots in the top 8 here, and was paired into a different hero for all of the quarterfinals rounds, 2 Prisms, Viscerai, and a Dash. Breyer won all of the matches, so from then on it was just Breyer mirrors in the semifinals and the finals, with Matt Folks taking it down. 2 of the Breyers were a belittle version of Breyer. 2 of them were not. Matt Folks, who ended up winning the event, was on a belittle version of Breyer. A very awesome deck. Hopefully I can get him on for a deck tech on it. But yeah, congrats to him for winning the event, and obviously Breyer, a very, very powerful hero, and definitely showing where that power is in this event. Obviously, Viscerai, Prism doing pretty well, and Dash doing well, in addition to Breyer here. But Breyer really just kind of taking it to town with this Pro Tour. Then for the calling, we still had a decent bit of Breyer, only 2 instead of 4, but still a nice amount of Breyers. We did have 3 Prisms this time, still a Viscerai, and then a Dorinthia as well, probably taking advantage of all the aggro decks. Dorinthia has a pretty solid aggro matchup. And then you can see the Prisms, both Prisms and both Breyers won their quarterfinal rounds. So we had just Prism versus Breyer for the rest of this as well. So Prism versus Breyer in the semifinals, one Prism won and one Breyer won, and then Prism actually won the calling here, which puts Prism officially into living legend status. And that should be as of 2 days from now, I believe the 30th of August. Prism will be officially living legend. So no more Prism in Classic Constructed, the 3rd living legend hero now, going into living legend along with Sarvo and Chain. Definitely kind of showing the power of the Monarch set as well, right? Half of the heroes from Monarch are now living legend, and the other 2 are not very good heroes. So kind of a very polarizing set, right? There was 2 very, very powerful heroes in Monarch and 2 not as powerful heroes. Yeah, so congrats to the winner of the calling as well. It's nice to see Prism gone since I love Guardian so much. And let's look back at the tier list we had then. This is, I believe, my most recent tier list, and let's look at what we got wrong and what we got right here. So obviously, the most glaring thing I had wrong, right, is Breyer. So Breyer is almost definitely the best hero right now, and I just didn't see that in a lot of our testing. I think either we weren't playing the right builds, weren't playing her right, or just low rolling more. Breyer does have this issue where she has probably the most high roll potential in the format. Channel Not Heroic is just such a powerful card, but she can brick really hard, and she has some of the more low roll potential too. So in a big event, a lot of people are going to high roll and win the event with her, but she does have that low roll potential as well. And I think when you pick the hero, you need to understand she does have some fail states that other heroes might not, right? Like Dash has much less of a fail state than Breyer does. Outside of that, I think that was the major thing I got wrong, was Breyer should be much higher here. Outside of that, I mean, Viscerai made both top 8s. Prism was heavily represented in both top 8s, so those are both good. Dash made all the top 8s as well. Bravo actually was probably the other one I got wrong. He just didn't perform as well as I thought. I think the problem was that there was a lot of Prisms, and he just got eaten alive by the Prisms and probably lost to a lot of the Dash as well. So Bravo definitely not S tier, probably more A tier range. But just, I think all I would do is I would switch Breyer with Bravo here. So let's look at a tier list here for after this ban and restricted announcement comes out. I am making this a little preemptively because they might ban or restrict some cards. I don't think it's likely because I think the meta is pretty healthy right now. If anything, maybe they'll get rid of Rosetta Thorn or something for Breyer, since she did kind of get overrepresented at these two events, but with Prism gone, Prism hitting Living Legend, I think the meta is going to shake up a lot. The Guardians are going to get a bit stronger, and they're going to be able to take on the Rune Blades more. So I feel like it's likely that they're not going to touch anything and just let Prism Living Legend. But you never know. They could touch some cards and definitely restrict some of Briar's power. So first of all, Prism here is gone, so we don't have to worry about ranking her anymore. I think Viserai and Dash are still S tier, just like I had in my last tier list here. As you can see, Viserai and Dash each putting a hero into both top 8s. And then Briar, I think, jumps up, obviously, to be, if not the best hero, at least in contention for the best hero, right? I mean, it seems obvious she's the best hero throughout these top 8s, but, the meta can definitely shift, right? Prism's gone. There's going to be a lot of meta shifts, and she might not stay the best hero, but if I had to put money on it, I would say she's definitely going to stay S tier at least. And then rounding out the S tier here, I think with Prism gone, Oldhim gets significantly better. Dash is his other bad matchup, but it's not as bad as Prism was. It's still winnable. There's no Spectre you have to deal with against Dash. It's just a race before they set up items. So I think Oldhim is going to round out the S tier. Usually I try to have an order within the tiers, at least somewhat. But this time, since this meta is going to be a lot different with Prism gone, the order might be a little different, right? Like, I don't know if this is going to be the exact order within the tier, but yeah, Oldhim probably going to move up in the rank from, I think I had him in A tier, yeah, moving up to S tier. And then Bravo is going to drop down to A tier, I think. I don't think he's going to be as powerful as Oldhim is. And yeah, I think Oldhim might just have better tools in general than Bravo does. And I was probably a little higher on Bravo than I should have been. Other hero in A tier that's moving up, I believe she was in B tier last time, yeah, is Icelander. Icelander did pretty good at the Calling Singapore, from what I remember, and also I believe won the Battle Harden at Singapore. So didn't really put up any results at Lille, but still showed up a lot at Singapore, and I think she is still pretty strong and is gonna show up. She also had a pretty horrible Prism matchup, so she definitely loses one of her bad matchups and moves up as well. And then also in B tier that's moving up is Lexi. So Lexi had a pretty bad Prism matchup. Her other problem now is that she has kind of a rough Guardian matchup, and she's not going to want to see these Oldhims, which might mean that she's still just a B tier hero, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. With Prism gone, I think Lexi might have it here. And then also moving up, I think a lot of these B tier heroes you can see here, all three of these, I think a lot of the reason they were B tier is that Prism was very, very popular and they had a bad matchup into her. So Dorinthia, I'm going to move up to A tier. She had a pretty bad Prism matchup. Dawnblade is just really bad into Arclight Sentinel. But I think now she's going to have a pretty solid matchup into most of the field. I mean, obviously she's not going to be, I don't think she's the best deck, but I think she's a totally fine pick to try and win a major event now. You saw she put someone into the top 8 of the Calling. And I think if Prism wasn't there, you can see she paired into the Prism and lost. I think if Prism wasn't there, and this was, a Rune Blade like Briar, has a chance to take down the event, right? So, yeah, definitely Dorinthia moving up in the rankings there. So let's look at who isn't here anymore, right? So Prism's gone, so she's not in there. And then we have Phi and Kano to talk about, right? So I think they're both probably A tier still. I think Phi is good. He was the second most represented hero at the Pro Tour, but I don't think he has all the same tools and power that Runeblade does necessarily. He's probably maybe the best hero in A tier, but I don't know if he is quite on the level that Briar and Viserai are at, but still quite a good hero. And anyone in S tier or A tier could take down an event. I think this meta is still quite wide open. I still think last meta and this meta after Prism's gone are probably going to be some of the healthiest metas we've ever seen. So all of these heroes being viable. You look back at old tier lists, like when Starvo was around, stuff like that. I would say, I remember saying, like, just play Starvo or Chain, anyone else is bad, right? Like, this meta is not that. I think you could play almost any of these heroes and be okay. So yeah, much, much healthier meta. And then at B tier here, I think Dromai is still hanging out in B tier. I think people just haven't optimized her enough yet. She is my favorite hero right now, and I really, really enjoy playing her. But I still have no idea what the perfect build is. I mean, my deck probably changes 15 cards every week, so still very far from being figured out. I think once she's figured out, she'll be a solid A tier hero, but no one has any idea how to build this hero right now, and I think that's part of her problem. I mean, after that, I think Rhinar might be a bit better with Oldhim being good. He has like a fine Oldhim matchup because he can intimidate all the blocking cards. And then I think Katsu's maybe okay as well. I mean, he has a pretty horrible Oldhim matchup, but he's doing fine. I think maybe I underrated him a little. I do think Katsu put someone into the top 8 of the Singapore Battle Harden. He's got some nice tools from the new Uprising set that are ninja cards, and I think Katsu's fine right now, but I wouldn't recommend bringing him to an event. Usually my B tier and below is like, I wouldn't say bring them to like a major event like a Calling or something. The rest of our heroes here, we have the pits still, where Bolton and Azalea live. And then maybe we got like a little C tier here for Levia, who's still needs a little help. She's kind of like B minus, like she's okay, but she's not as bad as these heroes down here, but she's not great either. People have definitely figured her out more. I used to have all of these heroes down here, but you know, Levia has improved a little. But yeah, I think this is what the meta looks like. I mean, this is a fairly healthy meta. You can see usually at my older metas, Starvo meta, where the meta was way less healthy, A tier was a lot smaller, and there was a pretty chunky B tier and C tier, right? But when I think A tier is where you want most heroes to be, right? Like you don't want anyone oppressive, which is where S tier can kind of be, where like you are just dominating the meta in some ways. I mean, if every single hero was A tier, that'd be the perfect meta. Obviously, that's basically impossible to balance, but you still would want like realistically like half the heroes or close to be an A tier. So I'd say this is pretty healthy meta. Rest in peace to Prism. You won't really be missed. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Prism players will miss you, but I play a lot of Guardian, and I certainly won't miss her for that. I have a lot of friends that want to play some Icelander or Kano or Dorinthia or Lexi and are happy she's gone as well. So I think Spectra, I think they probably realize it's maybe a little too good of a mechanic in a lot of ways. And I think Dromai is honestly a much healthier illusionist where attacking her quote-unquote auras, right, her allies, her dragons, don't make you lose your action point. But, you still kind of lose the attack, right? Because you're not going at your opponent's health, you're going at their dragons. So, but, it doesn't just end their turn. So I have a much healthier way to do it, and I hope they stick with maybe more allies and less Spectra, or at least auras that don't have Spectra or something like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, check out my affiliate link and my Patreon in the description. And yeah, I appreciate all your support. Let me know how you feel about Prism hitting Living Legend, how you feel about the meta at the Pro Tour, at the Calling, and what you might be picking now that Prism is gone as of August 30th. Yeah, thank you guys. See you next time.